Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. My guest, on top of being co-host of one of my favorite shows in the history of TV, that metal show, also, of course, has his own radio show for years, and he's also got this book out, Eddie Trunk's Essential Hard Rock and Heavy Metal, Volume 2. Let me do this real quick. You're aware of commercials, Ed. You understand this perfectly.
I do.
I want to say thanks to French Quarter's Guest Apartments for being our New York City hotel. Let them be your headquarters in New York City. Go to FrenchQuartersNY.com to book your next day. That's FrenchQuartersNY.com to book your next day. As a DJ, Ed, is there anything you read that does not .com in it?
No, never anymore.
Isn't it insane?
It's unbelievable. And I mean,
you've had a first row seat of really how the business has totally changed through Napster, the web, everything. Like, you've seen it all from a front row seat.
I started in radio right out of high school in 1983.
Yeah.
And, I started queuing up vinyl.
Literally
queuing up vinyl.
Think of how incredible that is.
And dropping the needle and finding the spot and scrubbing the record to find out where to start. Yeah, I mean, it was fun. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You had 3 turntables and you had to get one cued while the other was playing. If you hit it with your elbow, you go off the air.
Danny remembers that. Danny started in Chicago radio with Steve Dahl in the 70s.
And then I remember when the first CD was played on the radio. It was a huge deal. We were like, station I was working at the time was one of the first to ever play a CD, and it was like, look at this thing, oh my God. And now, you know what? I actually still play CDs on my radio show.
You do?
Yeah, because the music I play, I pick on my own, and it's not in the database. So if I can't click on Manowar on a classic rock station and get the song, so I have to bring it in.
Manowar.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So but yeah, I've seen it all, and as a result, I think it's really more important than ever in radio to do something more than just play records, because what a lot of people don't know. What a lot of people don't know is you think you're listening to a live local rock radio station, and guess what? No. You're listening to a recording.
Sure you are.
And many people don't know that, but that's there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and it's eating up a lot of people's jobs. So unless you develop a radio show where people are listening for you, what you're going to say, what you're going to play, who you're going to have on, more than just saying, there's AC/DC and here's Def Leppard, because if you do that, you will be replaced by a computer. It's happening every day.
I mean, every day I wake up, I try to take it for granted how lucky I am to have the studio, this deal, not only radio but TV. I mean, because of my affiliation with Howard, I got a name for myself to where a company like DirecTV gives me this deal. It is a hard time for real talented people in radio to get gigs. People who should be working. It's a hard time out there, man.
What's really hard, Artie, and people, younger kids ask me all the time, hey, how do I break into this? How do I do this? How do I get into radio? It's really difficult now.
You don't know what to tell them even.
Well, exactly, because when I was a kid, I sound like a 90-year-old man, but I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, you broke into radio in a couple ways. You made your demo tape, and most people, I got lucky. I grew up, I started out working at the radio station I grew up listening to, which was in Jersey and is still there, WDHA. That was my hometown station.
One of my favorite stations
still there,
ever.
My backyard radio station. And that's where I broke into radio, right? And then from there, in 94, I broke into New York City, and that was the game changer where I really got a foothold and made a career out of it. But so I got lucky. I was never a guy on this mission that was going to go across the country to find his way in radio. If it happened local, it happened. I wasn't moving for it. I wasn't that into it. I really just wanted to be able to have a way to expose bands. And I was doing other things. I was working at a record company. I was writing. I was doing all this stuff. But what happened, when people ask me about what do we do to break in, you don't know what to tell them, because the 2 ways you used to be able to break in was go to small markets, go to the middle of the country, nowhere in the cornfields, get a job working on a small radio station.
$150 a week in Jerkoville,
if you were lucky.
Wyoming, right?
If you were lucky. DHA back when I started, which is a medium market station, was paying like $6 an hour, and a shift is only 4 hours. To do the math there, you know.
What glamour.
Right. But you used to be able to say, well, go to Idaho and, this small station and get acclimated and learn how to do radio and start out. Or you'd say the real starting point was do the overnight, which is where I did tons of overnights. Guess what? First of all, small market radio stations are all the stuff's being piped in on all of them. There's nobody there. It's a building empty, taking a feed. And overnights, even in major markets like New York, LA, almost every radio station is also running a service, and there is not a human being there overnight.
That's unbelievable.
So you don't have a way to start in. You don't have that entry level position anymore to learn your craft and work your way up.
Computers have literally just taken it over.
I mean, I never in my life envisioned a time where I'd get off the air and I'd push a button and turn the light off on the studio.
Yeah.
And I'd say, hey, what's up, John? You know, have a good show, and I'll see you.
But that's scary. You can't take the humanity out of radio, man. You just can't. That's a real scary thing to go down that road. You know, there's a documentary out now it's about to come out called Downloaded about the history of Napster. I can't wait to see it because, you know, you're talking about guys getting interviewed. Like they're saying literally record companies, entire floors of record companies, lights would just be going out, just out of business after Napster hit. And you talk about it, the kid who started is trying to say, you know, I was a fan of music, I didn't want this to happen, and then the blowback that Metallica gave it and everything. It seems fascinating. I mean, you sat through all of that. You saw the whole thing.
And I worked in the music industry, so I saw it all. And I'll tell you, I think about this all the time. A guy like me who's lucky enough now, I've got a couple radio shows, I've got a TV show, got some books, all in the world of music, right?
You're hustling, you're working, it's all good stuff.
Thanks, but can you imagine if I had the profile and the audience that I have now in, say, 1986, what they'd be offering me? They'd be offering me private jets to Fiji with hookers and whatever I wanted on it. Now I can't even get a CD sent to me.
It's all timing in life.
You go to the record companies, like tumbleweeds coming through the halls.
That's right.
And I'm like, I had to make it in the late 2000s when the industry's dead. I mean, you can't even get anybody to buy a soda.
It literally had died. The industry had died.
It's a shame because I have a lot of friends that are still in it and hanging on by a thread. And, you know, if you can find a way to reinvent yourself, I mean, obviously there's new emerging medias and things you can get into, but it's tough, man.
I was at a dinner party with a guy. He might not want me to say he was talking like this. I mean, I don't think he would care, but just to be safe, I won't mention his name. But it's a guy both of us know, record company guy, and he had a big job. He had one of those old school promotional jobs at a record company, making big money to schmooze the artists, take them out, have a good time. And I was at a dinner party around Christmas time in Manhattan down at Mercer Kitchen with him. And he told me, he goes, Art, I got to start looking for a job. And he worked at a major place. I'm like, why? He goes, this year, I think the year was 2002, it was the first year that recordable CDs outsold CDs. Like, in other words, like just CDs you could download stuff on outsold an actual CD that, you know, Metallica put out. You know, kids were buying ones you could record onto. And it was the first year, 02 or 01 was the first year, whatever that Christmas was, that recordable CDs outsold. Like 3-1 it was, the market.
Yeah.
So he saw the writing on the wall, and he was out of work for a couple of years. This guy's working now again. But, like, that was, he goes, it's a scary time. Scary time. But you see, you're on the air, your talent, you know, you're knowledgeable. What you have is not something you could teach somebody. You know what I mean? So you'll always be there, but it should be a lot better of a situation.
Well, I made a big decision in my career early on because, again, I didn't get into radio to be a radio guy. Like, I had a lot of friends that wanted to get into radio because they got off on being on the air. They got into the audio.
That's the first rush.
They were into, like, processing. They were into the sound of their voice on the microphone, booming, reverbs, this and that. I never cared about any of that. I just got on the radio because I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to share experiences about the bands I loved and share the music. My whole life has been about trying to take the bands I love and treat them respectfully and talk to them and promote them. So whether it be radio shows, books, TV, writing, I've done a lot of, I wrote for magazines and stuff, worked in a record store for years. Yeah. Whatever I could do, I worked in the business, I worked in a record company, artist management, whatever I could do to be around it because I wasn't a musician myself. And that's really what it was always about for me. But radio is I still love doing it, man. Dude, it's the best. It's so immediate.
The immediate instant reaction, you just hit the nail on the head of your stuff getting out there. When I started on Howard in 01 as a full-time guy in front of a microphone with that audience across the country, millions of people, literally, I had come from making movies where you shoot it and you got to wait 10 months before anyone sees it. A TV where it could be a couple of weeks. If you do stand-up, it's immediate, but it's immediate at a club in Kansas City. To sit in front of a mic and to just be funny or whatever, tell a story, try to be interesting, and seconds later, or that second, everyone hears it. That was so good. We got to take a break, actually, but quick commercial. But that was, you hit the nail on the head, the immediacy of it. It's my favorite medium still.
Yeah.
We're going to take another break, and we'll be back to end the show with Eddie Trunk. Welcome back to the last few minutes of the Artie Lange Show. The great Eddie Trunk is here. His book, Eddie Trunk's Essential Hard Rock and Heavy Metal, Volume 2 in stores tomorrow. So, real quick, our Giants. You said you looked over the schedule. What is the first win?
I don't know. Can you help me with
They're
that?
playing Washington.
Maybe that.
Washington.
But
Washington's like week
1-2.
7, I think.
Well, that'll be the first win.
They're looking for 1-2.
What's the schedule? Kansas City and Kansas City.
They're going to lose to Kansas City and Kansas City by 50 points.
But Artie, let me ask you this.
But again, the Giants are weird. Maybe they'll win that game.
But that's exactly it, Artie. That's exactly it. I was saying that to someone earlier today.
So streaky.
I was just like, the Giants are, like, how many times has this happened in the last 4 or 5 years where you're done, count them out, the worst team in football, and then like some crazy Phoenix Rising.
But they've never looked at the
I
way.
know,
Yesterday
but
was extraordinary.
But because of how god-awful they were yesterday, and no one's giving them a chance in hell against Kansas City, watch, that's the game they come out of.
Andy Reid's a great coach. At home, I don't think Andy Reid lets them lose that game.
You know how hard it. First of all, playing in Arrowhead is tough. People talk about playing up at Seattle. Arrowhead's almost.
But would I be totally surprised? No, real quick. Steve, watching on the Audience Network, has a question for Eddie. Steve, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Artie? Longtime fan, love you, buddy. But I just wanted to ask this guy real quick if he had any chapters in his book.
What? About what?
He does. I can answer that.
Talking like G.G. Allen.
G.G. Allen.
Is he in the book? Any feces?
No, nobody eating their own feces. No. Listen, the type of music that I'm into is pretty well known by now after 30 years. It's pretty much classic-leaning hard rock and metal, so that's really what it's about. I never got into, the punk stuff or the real extreme stuff.
It is great, especially watching that metal show, the knowledge you do have of the music.
Well, people ask me where that came from, and it's just that I've lived it my whole life. I mean,
I'm that way with
that's all
certain
I've done.
subjects to comedy and sports. Certain sports, it's all comedy.
If you live it, I mean, people ask me with that metal show, we have this segment that people love, this Stump the Trunk thing, and it's like, somebody said to me the other day, "Is he wear a wire in his ear? Somebody feeding him that?" I'm like, no, I just lived it. I don't study up or anything. You either know it or you don't. And there's plenty I don't know. I don't think I know it all by any stretch.
Right.
But we have fun with it.
Well, I'm like that thing I always do here. You give me a year between 1949 and the year 2000. You give me any year, and I've never studied this. I just happen to know the 2 teams in the World Series and who won. Any year you give me. And
seriously? I didn't know that.
Between 1949 and the year 2000.
That's crazy.
Give me a year.
You're Rain Man-esque. 74.
In 1974, the A's beat the Dodgers.
See, I don't know.
See, we can't confirm or deny. We don't know.
59.
Go on the internet. In 59, the White Sox lost to the Dodgers.
That's so weird.
If that's
you could be making
crazy.
it up, though.
I'm not making it up.
But see,
it's true. Check it out.
But see, I've always been amazed by the ability to memorize stuff, and you, of course, are an actor as well, and being able to memorize stuff. How the hell do you do that?
I got to thank Warren Haynes, amazing. Trevor Price, great. Come back, brother. Eddie Trunk, this book, Essential Hard Rock, Heavy Metal, Volume 2. Test me tomorrow. I get 49 to 2000.
Weird.
Real quick, 10 seconds.
62.
In 62, of course, the Yankees beat the San Francisco Giants.
Correct. Hey, my signing tour, if people go to EddieTrunk.com, it's all on there.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.